You don't see round corners, I do. You don't know if there are miracles, but there's one waiting for you. Everything seems backwards and outside in.
Can I still live in a remote area just because I've got a mental illness? Does that stop me living my dream? No, it doesn't stop me living my dream. My name's Catherine and I live in a remote area outside of Charleville in Western Queensland. Yarran Gully is a 70,000 acre mulga block. It's a hard block, it's only a breeding block. It's not a block that you can grow cattle to be big and fat on. It needs a lot of maintenance done on the fences, but it's home. I was one of 15 children. I was the third that came along. We always lived on the land. When I was born, we had a cherry orchard. And when I was 16, my father said to me, "What do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be a mother." When I got married, I thought my husband was just my knight in shining armour. I thought he was the one who was going to protect me and provide for me and walk with me through life. I was the one that people used to come to and say, "Hey, can you look after my children, because we know that you can do it." You know, I used to have hordes of kids in the house and never used to worry me. Something changed through that pregnancy of my son. It shouldn't have. When I look at it, I was healthy, I was strong, I don't know what happened, but that's when I started to feel like I couldn't cope. I can remember when I was pregnant with Michael, standing at the back door, and there was a window that used to look up to the paddock and into a mountain, and I can remember thinking that I wanted to end it. I didn't want to be here anymore. I wanted to kill myself. I wasn't enthusiastic about this new baby. All I wanted to do was to be left alone at home. When I'd get into a depression, they'd range from a day or two to a week or two. The very worst depression I've ever had is when I've gotten up in the morning, made sure the kids were alive, and gone back to bed and literally put the covers over my head and wouldn't talk to anybody all day. I didn't want to admit to anybody that sometimes I just couldn't even think straight enough to do the housework. You know, to vacuum a floor, to play with the kids. My husband couldn't understand how someone couldn't just get themselves together, why they couldn't just get over it, why they couldn't get, just couldn't get it together, especially when I came across such a strong, independent, capable person, and now all of a sudden I've got postnatal depression and I'm not coping. I thought, I've got to do it myself. I'm tough, I'm strong, just get yourself together and deal with this. I didn't know whether I read it in the Country Life or read it somewhere about a course they did at Gatton University on animal production. So I applied to the university and I got in, and I started to get good grades. I started to have success. But during that year, my husband and I got to the point where I left. And then the next year I moved down to Gatton University and finished my course internally and got dux of this class, and I finished it, and I was just so chuffed that I'd learnt something, I'd done something, I'd achieved something. This is fantastic, And that's when I went to a doctor down there, and he put me on medication for depression. and things started to level out a little bit. As well as the postnatal, there was this periods where I would seem to be superhuman and super perform and be able to cope with absolutely everything. But I really couldn't. It was just like something driving you. I never really had that sorted out until a few years later when it was diagnosed as bipolar disorder.
Ready, set?
I've got strategies in place now to cope with it. I feel like I can live a normal life because I have a good psychologist who partnered with my doctor. Those two together are what helped me balance my medication and balance my behaviour, and anything that I'm going left or right from, I can deal with between the doctor and the psychologist.
Pete, got a copy? How you going with that cow? Yeah, no, leave her. I might bring, when we get the other contractor in.
And also being out here is part of my strategy as well, because this is my dream, and trying to build a dream and live your dream is part of the strategy for survival as well. Having some success somewhere, doing something that you believe in strongly is also a strategy for help. If you're too fearful to reach out for help, then it doesn't matter if you're in a city or the country. You've got to get over that and say, well, I need to get some help. I need to do something about this. I don't want to spend the rest of my life hurting myself and those around me. Learning how to read my body and read the signs and use the medication, learn the routines for getting out of the depression, which is exercise and eating right and having friends around.